Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my second weekly forecast. First of all, as you looked bored for the first one, I had some audio challenges, which first of all is me mumbling, having dark voice, and German accent, which all don't help. But this time I tried to get help of technology. I got these Parrot Zig headsets, which are phenomenal flights anyway, as you get a significant noise reduction. So I'm listening to more music on my many flights as I'm in the East Coast every week. And the four-way microphones built in there, the four microphones should be amazing too. So that said, it was a good, better audio experience, which I'll hear later on. So the week started traveling to San Francisco for Workday's yearly tech summit, one of the most interesting events in my view, because clearly Workday has a ton of mind share, a ton of capture and audience interest, not only by customers, but by the whole ecosystem. So to hear what Workday has to do on the technology side is super interesting. About 20 plus or so analysts from Constellation, both Ray and me were there, were invited. We had a very good, nice dinner at the waterfront restaurant, beautiful views of the Bay Bridge, which is illuminated. So it was great. I was lucky my table sat together with Stan Sweet, the CTO, with Andre O'Toole, the founder of Cape Clear, which Workday acquired some years ago, and Aaron Yang, who runs some of the technologies. So we had some very good technology, and Mike Franzen, not to forget him last at least, had some very good technology conversations, which also bumped the next day. The next day, we had a very nice location with the Golden Gate Club. Very nice views there too. Luckily, good weather. And yeah, let's look at what my takeaways were from that very first day. Blog. So the main line there was that the good news is that Workday is moving to a more standardized approach of how they deliver their applications. And that's interesting and important to most customers, as they usually are concerned about how well Workday technology scales and is maintained, because it's fairly unique, or you could also say proprietary to them. And in their defense, there was an alternative when they started Workday as technology, as a skunkworks project back in the PeopleSoft days. You had to build your own things in like Salesforce.com. The question is what you do about this now. And the really good news is that as they presented there in various sessions, mainly David Clark, who runs most of the technology, great personality, very humble from the task they have attended. So I like that in general, always good to see. That they do actively work for OpenStack, something most of our analyst colleagues didn't pick up in last year's Tech Summit. They use a Rackspace distribution. They can run Workday on OpenStack distribution. They're running also test and develop instance on both AWS and Helion. So that's a good sign that things are moving more into a standard direction. Very encouraging in my view. The question is how much more of that will be doing there. And what David actually shared is that next year there should be at least 5 customers live on the OpenStack distribution. More interesting also then switching over to payroll. Workday is clearly said saying they won't do more for now, for the moment, than doing the US, Canada, and then next year the UK, and the year after France. Payroll-wise, the rest will be partnered. I got some very good updates that they're supporting now over 100 countries with a bi-directional feature to 15 partners. It's now back to customers and the competition to see if this bi-directional feature will be good enough, or let's take the outlook, some direct interaction for an employee on the payroll with where you need the direct payroll, like if you decide on deductions in a benefit enrollment situation like what ADP showed, or if you have to make shift decisions like what Ceridian showed, if it's really only a special situation or it becomes a mainstream feature. So very interesting for me to watch. When we look at the user interface, some great things around the UI architecture, Cornbeaver, usually very clean, good UI to look at. Some new changes about an Android client, which is natively available there. But then a lot of things are making it easier to log in. You can log in like an iPhone with your own pins and just put the number in. The W drive is very interesting. Didn't have much time. Productivity tools, interesting. All vendors are doing something on documents, right? Coming to mind, just what I saw: Ceridian, big push into documents. ADP, big push into documents. So really interesting that everybody is discovering an important topic to make documents available to the right people in the right context with the right access to that. And clearly, Workday is pushing finance and HR together, better together. Both Leanne Levensaler and Betsy Bland presented about the benefits of that. I think Workday can get still stronger and better on that message. And again, it's going to be interesting how the competition with other areas of automation, like Oracle and SAP or Infor, will react to that. Learning the missing piece in Workday's talent management suite. I asked Daniel Bushry, the CEO, and he said, we will partner for that, keep partnering for that. So good news for Cornerstone and the many other partners in that area. The interesting thing is that Workday seems to be really gated towards the direction of getting finance to work for the largest customers. Bushry was very clear that once that's done, which hopefully is going to be soon, then Workday will look at other areas of HR automation, and we'll look at other verticals potentially, because they're only right now the student systems. Good. Enough about Workday. It was a very good event. What I did earlier and want to talk about earlier, every now and then I have enough time not to just write about what we do, but I do what I call musings, so my personal views in the future. Right, my whole blog is called Enterprise Software Musings, and what I've been wanted to blog and finally managed to do on Monday, because I still had time here in San Diego to do, is talk about something which I think is relevant for enterprise going forward. And buzzwords, blame me for that, call it transporting as a mixture, which I didn't put in the blog and people haven't picked up, so I'll give it away in video. Let's see if they get it from the video here. A mixture of transfer and onboarding, offboarding, right? And why is it so important, right? It's important to enterprise because talent is in short supply, right? We all know that talent crunch, the silver tsunami. You see my picture, my hair is gray enough, right? Lots of people retiring. Life work balance matters to employees. Interesting, on Twitter, on this post that got the most feedback, that life work balance is definitely a challenge, but I see more and more people striking a good one, all the systems being more flexible to get to this work-life balance, right? As a proven case, the Uber driver who drove me to the Hotel Vitala where Workday hosted the analyst was a mother who just started driving Uber 6 months ago because she had more time to use the Uber car to drop her kids to school. When she starts driving, she can start at any time, can drive her kids to activities, drops them off their afternoon activities, puts the Uber thing on again, a job she couldn't do with a 9-to-5 desk job before. So she was a big fan, an example for life work balance and technology progression making better. We'll shift to projects, right? Fourth part here, companies need to be more agile, need to do things faster. And that means they will go to a more project than a static organization to get things done. So what do you need for a transporting system, right? You need to seamlessly be able to onboard employees, potential hires, and very important external contractors and freelancers, the whole contingent workforce space. You need to have a project approach to positions, right? All these static ways of setting up positions in the enterprise is going to be really, really hard to do. And a temporary view, right? Because people will be working on different projects, right? You need to see what's the next project is. So forget about all the static view on positions and moving them. Think of more dynamic project-based organization chart. Consider project position timelines and upcoming projects because you want to train people, because projects will be shorter. You want to train them on the next thing that is coming up for them. Formalize project start and end charters. Of course, but if you run projects, you need some decent project management. The positions of transfers, transfer in a scalable way. Formalize them as a transfer across them. So let me know. I asked in the post too. Lots of retweets on this, on transporting. Let me know what you think about transporting. You can bet I'll talk about it in my presentation with a preview next week at Open World too. Good. And next we were off to Wipro. Don't have a blog post on the Wipro analyst meeting in Boston. It's my colleague who was also there, Ray and me, Guy Cortin, is going to publish, hopefully soon. If he had published it, I've noticed, I would have put it in here. It was really good to see a report on system integrators coming out, how buyers should look at system integrators and the technology strategies. It was not like visiting a typical, not even Indian, but in general system integrator, right? I had the pleasure to spoke to VK Krishna, the CTO, for a longer time. The things where Wipro, as an example, is putting their bets in for the future are all product related. They're not the typical service related things. So the time of labor arbitrage, doing things cheaper in India or in other places and other places, definitely over. It was also so good to see a presentation and have a in-detail briefing on the digital transformation practice headed out of the UK, which was very interesting, and have a longer conversation, which was on stage, also how banks are using open source, was all bank customers, I believe. And then more in detail to see what and how Wipro is trying to shape the next generation platform to build their future intellectual property IP products for the customers and for themselves on, and it's all open source. So no surprise, no difference here, but was was more a product vendor meeting, at least from the briefings I had and what I picked up, maybe also with my product hat on, than anything else. And next up, I was on the plane back from Boston, thinking about, well, this whole Apple thing, I want to write for a long time. So I also try to see this a little bit by people who are covering this more closer, but none of the analysts and press people are known that area. We're taking any of this question unless having answered, right? So the questions for me, for Apple, I talk a little bit about my blog post about the issues they had, right? But how does Apple decide and go, no go for a new phone, right? It's real difficult, right? They set up the launch, everybody set up the location. You saw what they did at the, or was Sunnyvale Cupertino Theater Center or something, with no own tent and so on to show the product. But when do they pull it, right? When they say, sorry guys, we weren't ready, right? It was something very hard to do in general for all organizations and to have the structure. So they will not share that, but I wonder what the internal go, no-go pieces are, because obviously iOS 8 wasn't ready, right? How does it slot capabilities, right? Normally, as you build software, you put major things like the healthcare edition, which is one reason to like the whole iPhone 6 into major release, so iOS 8. Instead of that, obviously the capabilities are in 8.01, which they had to pull. Yeah, and how does basic hardware testing? Now, I don't know if people can bend their phones, and under which conditions it's even true. Apple has come back with extensive showing opening the doors, which is a good thing, right? So things which go bad create more openness, which Apple traditionally is not a very open vendor, as we all know. Showed their lab how they do durability testing. That was great. The main concern is like, when will Apple fix the iCloud? I was a victim myself. 4 years ago, I had an iPhone as my corporate telephone. For whatever reason, the whole thing got unstable. You don't get a blue screen with Apple, right? What you get is you just go back to the main screen, the default screen, as if you had pressed the button. You first think you pressed the button, but you didn't do that, obviously. And you're back in the main screen. It was so bad I couldn't even finish a text to write like a minimum app task without it was crashing. So without reinstalling, going back and forward, ultimately Apple said, okay, we'll give you a new phone, but there's no way that you use iCloud as your backup, because it will bring the bad code together back with your data. So I lost application data, which I didn't store separately. I couldn't store separately. And pictures and so on, I had to use a separate machine to save these, right? And similar, like 4 years later, here we are, users who are affected by a bad upgrade need to separate and save their data separately. So please, Apple, fix this. And in my view, right, separation of code and data is a key design principle for software, enterprise applications, and everything else. So please do that going forward. People pay a lot of money for iCloud, right? And then how does Apple design, develop, and test features in the operating system and the application code, right? In the past, I saw articles where Apple pride themselves that they have this one empowered universal developer who does everything. Given the security issues they had, the review issues, the millions of users who try to use the software, I think it's going to be key for them to share maybe how they do this and how they review things and how they get a second set of eyes on architecture and other things people do. Okay, and last but not least, today, what would I like to do for Oracle at Open World? Next week, I'm heading there. As I mentioned earlier before, last year I wrote a big blog post which related to pretty much all the topics. This year I'm just focusing on my research area of next generation applications. So on database, right, 12c has been announced and around since a long time. Now it's really coming for Oracle to show the TCO benefits they claimed, which on paper are very interesting, seen by customers, and see the adoption of the new memory feature. On the cloud side, I had the pleasure to be at a cloud summit back in Indian Wells this spring, March 9th. I remember now from putting the blog post in here. There, Thomas Kurian presented an ambitious agenda, much of it under NDA. So I hope some of these NDA pieces will make it to live next week, potentially around the PaaS area. But really the question is, how does Oracle support these 11 million developers, which are on the Java side, and allows them the millions of database administrators to take their products and build modern 21st century applications. On the HCM side, last but not least, it's all about show the traction, right? Last year, both Ray and me challenged Chris Leone and the team there. Do you have any customers? And they hijacked my whole agenda, which in hindsight was interesting. Talking to about 15 customers who were either live, were implementing, or just decided for Fusion HCM. We'll check on that again. We wrote a research report about the findings that Fusion HCM is more advanced than at least we perceive, than many people perceive. Let's see if Oracle has been building on that. I'm particularly interested also what they're going to do around Taleo. Spoke about it, transporting, right? The retirement problem means the hiring problem. Let's see what really is happening in that area on the Oracle side. Let's see how I stop the sharing and put my camera back. Here we go. So I hope that was interesting. I didn't even look at the time. There's Google Hangout one time somewhere. What are the things I missed? I want to blog about Sage using the money they got from the recent sale of Sales Logics to Infor, and they bought a payment company, Pay Express, I believe. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Shows how interesting payroll is, how strategic it is, and it's promising regular returns for vendors, right? Which is a key thing to stabilize SaaS revenue. Not sure if they're going to claim a SaaS model here. Also couldn't make it, unfortunately. I was in San Francisco to the Puppet conference. Puppet and Chef are key enablers to help next generation applications deal with the whole complexity of these environments, going to multiple clouds or local cloud and local. Some interesting announcements. I encourage you to check them out with a new Puppet server. The older one had some issues, as everybody who's well knows, and interesting apps to be built on top of that, coupled with a partner announcement. So if you're in DevOps or if you're in building applications, I encourage you to check it out. Well, that was my week, only a short weekend, because Sunday I'm already going back to San Francisco again. Oracle has the HCM Analyst Summit right away before. And then I think I counted over 38 briefings that Oracle has scheduled. Then we have a couple of other ones there. It's going to be a full house. Look forward to meet with all my colleagues there. Ray is definitely going to be there. I know Alan's coming from Toronto. I think Natalie is coming out of the LA area up there. I think Dee is going to make it too, our new colleague. And who might I forgetting? Yeah, I think almost everybody's there. So looking forward to Open World, always a key event given Oracle's influence on the technology side, but also the application side. So look forward to the posts. Follow me on Twitter. I'm an analyst which doesn't put notes anywhere else, right? Some people complain I tweet too much, and I tweet a lot. I also seem not to be able to tweet a lot without any typo in there. Somebody says it's my brand, basically, that there's at least one typo in one of my tweets, but okay. My philosophy is I don't take notes, but I tell my opinion, and everything interesting and the fact is on Twitter. In fact, when I write my blog posts, I look at my tweets. I look at other people's tweets to a certain point also, where I cherish their opinion or what they've seen, because you can't see everything, and you can't tweet everything, obviously. And everything is public, will be tweeted, and is in my notes, and it's the base of any blog or any research I do, or if I search my tweets or when I have customer inquiries and so on. With that said, this ran pretty long, I think longer than last time. I wonder that Google Hangouts says no, I can't say anything here, no time how long this was. Anyway, that's it, the weekly recap for September 26th is in the box, and to look forward to hear from you what you think about using video and if it was helpful or not. Thank you so much.